district. I span the spectrum from kindergarten to 8th grade. Just last week I was providing professional development for our middle school, writing 8th grade curriculum, and I've also been working with our kindergarten teachers with foundations. So I really just love my job. I'm relatively new. In 2 weeks I'll be here for 2 years, and in a big district with all the buildings, it takes a minute to win it. And so let me just tell you a little bit about myself and what I want for our students. Whether your child is in kindergarten, 1st grade, getting into the upper elementary, or in middle school, I want the same thing. I want our students to be able to be fantastic consumers of complex texts. I want them to have opportunities to read just right books that are just at their level, because volume reading of just right books really shows that they, like research supports the fact that they can grow with those just right texts. But then I want teachers to provide students with an opportunity to read a little bit more harder texts and teach them how to increase their muscle and their stamina so that they can not abandon something but really think about it and think critically about it. What I'm really focused right now is all the news. Like, think about all the election, right? You have all the propaganda, all the what's true and what's not true. And what do we want our students to do? We want our students to be able to be very discerning, to be questioning what they're reading, to when they're reading online, there's volumes of resources online that come from crazy sources and then credible sources. And we want them to engage in an opportunity to question that and feel good and confident about that. In the packet that I gave you, I'm not going to deliberate over it too much, but at the back, our state has an assessment which starts in 3rd grade. And some of the questions, you can see what it's asking our students to do and what they're asking, the thinking behind what it is that they need to bring to the table. And what I have been working with our teachers is to really show, whether it's 7th grade or 1st grade, that it's not about assigning, but it's really about creating an environment where students are engaged in an opportunity to think, to talk to each other. That's why I had you sitting, and I'm glad you introduced each other, to have your background meet your background when it comes to a thought. Have your understanding that at times I have to reread a text and feel comfortable about rereading. You want teachers to model the thinking, and you don't want them just to assign, particularly in 7th grade. Our 7th grade teachers had professional development last week, and they really felt empowered to walk away and say, I can really engage my students in an opportunity to be thinkers and not just, okay, here's an assignment and thanks you very much and call it a day. So what I want to do is I want to demonstrate what it is that our students would, and what we're learning to engage our students with, what they would typically be involved with in a typical day, whether it is, again, in 1st grade or up to 7th grade. I'm going to give you a little bit of an experience, and then from there I'm going to show you some videos, and I have one for 5th grade, one for 2nd grade, so that spans, and one for high school. And it's very quick, but all of it you'll see some commonality, and you'll see some common language. So at the beginning of this, this is my bingo phase. The bingo phase is you see these words, and these are words that are in the teacher's vernacular now. They're really coming alive, and students are hearing them. You see close reading, chunking the text, collaborative conversations, evidence from the text, getting the gist, annotating, questioning, turning and talking, rereading, complex text, read aloud, and what's the author's point of view. All of these things should be totally part of your child's environment within the classroom and even outside of the classroom. And so when you hear me say any of those today, if you would like to just check those off, whoever gets bingo, whoever gets the tic-tac-toe in a row, 3 in a row, you win a prize. So that's my little game for today. And I want you to feel comfortable about these words, and I want you to also walk away thinking like, okay, I have a better understanding of what it is my children should be engaged with so that they can be discerning again of those texts and of those resources that are out there. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to give you a poem. Do you see the poem that I have in front of you? for this poem, this is a sample of what a student may start to read. And this is a grade 4 or 5 text sample. Teachers are, we just engaged in professional development to teach teachers how to select texts that have meat, that have an opportunity to increase that thinking muscle. So this is one of those opportunities. The first go around, we're just going to read for the gist. And if you could see, you can maybe check off, ooh, there's the gist in your, yay, good. All right, so let's read for the gist. What I'd like you to do is I'll read so that frees you up to just be thinkers with this right now. But if you wouldn't mind, the author is interesting in selecting sensory words. Can you tell me some sensory words? Smell, taste, sight, feel, right? So anytime you see that in the text, I'd like you to circle it, all right? So first time around. Pat Mora is the author of this particular poem, and the poem's called Words Free as Confetti. Come, words, come in every color, come in your every color. I'll toss you in the storm or breeze. I'll say you. Taste you sweet as plums, bitter as old lemons. I'll sniff you words warm as almonds or tart as apple red. Feel you green and soft as new grass, lightweight as dandelion plumes or thorn gray as cactuses, heavy as black cement, cold as blue as icicles, warm as Abuelito's yellow lap, grandmother's yellow lap. I'll hear you words loud as sea roars, purple crash, hush as gatitos curl and sleep, little kittens curl and sleep, as the last gold lullaby. I'll see long and dark as tunnels. I'll see you long and dark as tunnels, bright as rainbows, playful as chestnut winds. I'll watch you words rise and dance and spin. I'll say you in English, in Spanish. I'll find you, hold you, toss you. I'm free too. I say, yo soy libre. I am free, 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 free as confetti. The author purposely chose the title, Words as Free as Confetti. What I'd like for you to do right now is take a moment and reread the text. And as you reread the text, maybe just until you can start when it says, warm as Abuelito's yellow lap. That's my grandmother's lap. Just down to there, and reread that and see if anything comes to mind as to why the author has decided to focus on this poem, Words as Free as Confetti. Jot some notes. For sake of time, I'm going to move on. What's this author saying to you? What are some of the notes? Share with each other, please.
The words are different. You know, there's all different kinds of words, many different meanings.
We notice that they like for taste, they do sweet, sniff, more like they're using descriptive things for the plums as they move through, or the red apples, or it's a sensory thing of sniff. But then it goes to warm almonds, sweet plums, green soft grass,
And what you just picked out, what would you say the author's trying to say? Like, what's the feel of this? Like, is it nasty or is it,
Comforting.
Okay, so what do you think the author's trying to say? Turn to your partner, and I'll be your partner.
Like, be open to use whatever words you want to.
Sure. Do you think the author? I'm thinking the author is trying to say that words can be very positive and used in a positive way, but I'm also noticing that words can be not so nice too. Right. Where do you notice that words are not so nice?
Bitter,
Yeah. Right.
harsh,
Right.
Yeah, that's how I think.
heavy.
Yeah. Right. Okay, share out. What did you just talk to your partner about?
I think he hit it.
It seems there's an experience with each one of the senses.
Absolutely. So what do you think the author's trying to say with the experience? Is it always a positive experience?
It can be varying. Like some of the things are soft, but further down he says harsh stuff. So it could be,
Bitter.
yeah, it could be bitter but sweet. Feel the green soft thing. Thorn gray as cactus, heavy as black cement. So it could be varying feels. I took it as, you know. Well,
Yeah.
then some of the things are good, but then when you think of heavy black concrete, it's more of a darker area. You know, it's not as soft. It's not that feeling. You're thinking of something more solid, more, you know.
Right.
coming out.
Can you ever think of a time, and you don't, this is not going to be, this is a private time, just think of yourself, can you ever think of a time that someone was using words, or you used words that were more, it was concrete or as cold as icicles? And then can you ever think of a time where, yes, I was sweet as plums?
Talk
Hopefully.
to our kids.
Sometimes it's sweet, sometimes
Christmas is coming, it better be sweet, right? All right, end scene. What did you notice that we did with this text? What's one thing that you noticed that I had you do?
Coding. Annotating.
Annotating, exactly. Whoop, there you go. Turn and talk. Right. Research is really supporting that we must give our students an opportunity to take their background and share it with someone else, because you come from a certain angle with a particular text, and listening and hearing someone else bring something else to that only enriches your opportunity to comprehend that text in a more deeper way. The fact that you first picked out all the positive, and then you were able to discern and pick out all the negative, that helped other people. That would have helped other students if they were in your class to go, oh, maybe they didn't even see that.
So I didn't see it initially till I start reading it again, you know. And I thought it was all positive till I start reading the heavy black cement, and I'm thinking, it's not, it's
So
very
you
easy.
reread.
Reread, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
If I
right.
say questioning right now, do I get bingo? Because you were having a
You can, you get it, yeah. There you go. You're done, see you, bye. So if you're seeing, what other types of things do we have in the environment for the students to engage in?
evidence from the text.
Right. You and I were talking, and that is a very big piece of lingo, whether the student is in kindergarten. What's the evidence? And, you know, I may be reading in kindergarten or first grade a story to a student, but I'm still engaging them in their thoughts. I'm still getting that opportunity to turn and talk. I'm getting that opportunity for them to socialize their intelligence with their peers. I'm having them also develop that opportunity to listen, and also to have a voice, to have a thought. I mean, you know, I noticed that you talked a lot, right? But if you talked a lot in the class, I would want you to, maybe I'm pairing you with someone that talks even more, you know, so that you get an opportunity to listen. Or maybe I would give an opportunity for you two to pair up together so that you have that voice. I'm trying to get all the students to gain that type of voice in the classroom. The key here is a lot of times, whether we're in first grade or in seventh, we're assigning a lot, but then it's a quiet individual experience to read, and we're learning that we need to make this a social aspect of reading too.
One of the things I wanted to ask you was,
Yeah.
I noticed with myself even, not so much now when I was younger, I'm an engineer. Math comes to me very easily, but when it came to reading comprehension, I struggled. And not until after I got out of school and I started reading more periodicals or newspapers or anything I picked up that I started to capture what I was reading. My kids struggle with it today. Not the youngest one. The youngest one seems he's more left brain,
Right.
more in the reading. The second grader, he just reads nonstop and loves it. Where the fifth grader, he is math. He's my identical. You know, math comes to him very easy. But reading comprehension is not. It's not his. You know, he'll read a story, and I'll say, "What's the main idea of the story?" No idea. You know, and rereading it even, and like some of the things you did, it does help him, but he still does struggle with it.
And
The scholastic things come home and my daughter gets like none of them right. You know
Right,
what I mean? The
right.
questions at the end or whatever.
And you know what, that's what it's so important. Like if we would have spent more time with this, I would have chunking, and we would have went piece by piece. Not let's get the gist of the total piece of this, but then let's chunk it to really kind of dissect. What does this mean? I mean, we could have spent a whole conversation on come words, come in your every color. What's the author trying to say with that? The author uses you a lot to refer to the words. Why use that pronoun? And really kind of be analytical about the author's purpose, the author's point of view. I think what we do is we're trying to also make sure that our teachers realize it's not just right there in the text. You know, you can ask for what's the plot, what's the setting, what's the character, what's the solution. Kids are getting that, right? But we have to move beyond that, and we have to get them to, starting in kindergarten, start that critical thinking process. If you would leave your name with me, I could get you some like sentence starters, just when they're reading. It would help you so that you know that, okay, is my child getting the right there in the text? Because that's important, because if they're reading and they don't get the sniff and hear and see and watch, oh, we got a problem. Let's
Well,
try.
Even with developing sentences, you know, I do a lot of business writing now, so mine's very short to the point, a lot of asterisks, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Where, you know, when they're developing paragraphs, I said, okay, you got to get the main point, you know, and then you bleed from there. He hasn't grasped that yet.
And that's why it's so important to create an environment where like this is non-threatening. You know, let's talk about it. Let's demonstrate it. If you're not getting it, I would start to get into my brain and into my thinking and show the students instead of just questioning. I questioned you a lot, but I would demonstrate, hey, do you know when I read this, this is what this means to me. You could do that with your child too. You know, I'm reading this and I'm thinking to myself, this is really important. And then start to turn and talk to your child and get your child involved in that conversation too. So now I'm going to just, again, get involved with something that we just did that set this tone in the stage, just to show you what it would look in high school, what we're getting our 7th grade. It's very quick, and then we'll go to 2nd grade so that you can see what we're trying to get our 1st graders to do, and we'll end with a little bit of 5th grade. Okay. So the biggest thing I want you to look for with this is the commonality of all the grade levels. And again, we're introducing some of these concepts. Never could you introduce all this in a half an hour, of course. But hopefully this is an opportunity to start the conversation and give you an opportunity to say, oh, I now know what's going on in the classroom, or what I can expect in the classroom. Let's see. This is very short for high school.
Strategy that I find really helpful when dealing with close reading tasks is
Oh.
cognitive markers, or as a more kid-friendly term,
Oh, bummer.
thinking notes.
It's not
So
doing it,
your
is it?
homework was to read through and use the thinking notes. So we didn't just want highlighted text, we wanted some
Of
of those
course.
particular thinking notes for your reactions to it. So let's start with the last one there. Just something
Oh
that was
my goodness.
confusing. Did anybody put down a double question mark?
Let me see if I can go get something.
Third page in the third paragraph, ZEIP.
Is there anybody that's technical that could help me? Is there any the tech guys that could help me?
You know where that covered bridge is? Yeah. I thought,
What they're doing is just sort of saying, oh,
I'm so sorry.
this is important. So what we try to do is say, why did you pick those particular elements and what was your reaction?
and
I thought that was a good way to end his entire letter, and it was very well put and ended well.
For a student, it makes a great, helpful way of
Nope.
remembering over a period of time how they reacted to a text.
I was wondering if it was outsiders coming in, what was that referring to? Because it was around quotation marks, so I thought it was referring to
See if I can get it.
The way he put it was really interesting. He was talking about
Ah, there. Woohoo!
laws that you break because of like they're not moral laws.
With this, instead of just saying, I highlighted it, I'm not sure why, I can quickly say, okay, who's got something that they thought raised an interesting question? And we can move to some really specific conversation prompts.
I think the point there, the teacher's setting the stage for you to be thinking, and for you to bring to the text a thought and not just to sit there. You have to engage, right? So now let's go to a second grade. This I like because also it demonstrates that it doesn't matter if the student's in special ed or like this expectation is for everyone.
The benefits of using a close read in second grade is that it allows every student in the classroom to have an opportunity to interact with a complex text, a text that they probably wouldn't choose if they were reading independently or reading at guided reading with a teacher.
I want you to turn to your neighbor and tell your neighbor the names of those communities. Urban, suburban, and rural.
We just started a learning expedition on communities. The students will be working on this learning expedition for the next 10 weeks. The second graders in my room are a heterogeneous group of general education students and students with IEPs, as well as some English language learner students.
My role in the classroom is special education teacher. We work together to support all the needs of our students.
The ranges of reading ability are from significantly below grade level to well above grade level.
We're going to make sure that we're looking at our learning target and we're reading for a purpose.
We're going to be working on a lot of literacy standards throughout this expedition. The literacy standard that we focus on in this particular lesson is I can use pictures and text to describe characters, setting, and plot.
Setting is
what's around other people.
Another standard that the students will be working on today is using different strategies to make meaning for unfamiliar words.
Does anybody remember what that article was describing? Which community was the article describing, Levi? Center City.
Earlier this week, the students read a number of informational texts. They read articles on how to describe different communities, as well as how to identify their community on a map.
Where is Center City? Go ahead, Levi.
In the center of Rochester.
The text we chose for this lesson is a piece of fiction text.
Open up to Country Kid, City Kid.
It supported the learning standard that the students were addressing today.
As soon as you find Country Kid, City Kid, touch your nose.
It's also at the appropriate lexile level for second grade at this time of year. And content-wise, it supports the learning expedition.
Everybody, what's the first step of your close read?
Listen to the whole text, no questions.
We've been using a close read protocol with our students since the beginning of the school year.
Read in text code.
Yes, everybody.
The first step in a close read protocol is reading the text all the way through for fluency.
Country Kid, City Kid.
We did that?
By
Yep.
Julie Cummins. Illustrations by Ted Rand.
The way we read for fluency with second graders is through a read aloud. That way, all students have an opportunity to read the text, and students who are still developing their ability to read can read along and listen for fluency.
Mrs. Wall's friends may get up and go meet her at her
The
table.
second part of the close read is for students to code the text. Some students are able to do that independently, and some students need support from a teacher.
When I'm working at the table with small groups,
I'm going to stop this for a minute and just comment. There's always opportunity for students to address their independent reading life. Their independent reading life should be that just right book, you know, that they can find fun, fast, and easy. It goes back to what the research says and supports it. But then in small groups, teachers may be reading with their instructional level. Teachers should know and have an opportunity to assess your child and say, okay, this text is just a little hard for you, but with me and me working with you, with instruction, you should be getting it. And then there's opportunity for this complex text, a harder text to really, and it's on grade level. That they mentioned Lexile level. It's the way in which we're defining a complex text and getting students involved with that. And if you could see, it doesn't matter if they're special ed, they're with support. Everyone's having an opportunity to not have a different text when it comes to this complex text. Everyone is working to achieve the end. And some of them may need help with that decoding piece, but all of them realize that I have an opportunity to come to this text and have a thought about it. And so that's something that we're trying to develop.
You just mentioned decoding. What are you doing to develop that decoding? So my son's in first grade, and that's something that, I mean, he gets it when you read it to him. This seems more comprehension-based.
It is, right now.
Everything that you've got going on here.
That's right.
And this is awesome. I mean, as you were talking, this is great. This is great. But to learn how to read independently, you need to get the decoding piece of it.
That's right.
Too. So
That's
what's
right.
being done for that?
And okay, and so this is because that's a means of itself, but it's not a means to the end, right? That's an opportunity. I have to work on fluency. I have to work on your phonics, right? We have phonics programs in kindergarten. Kindergarten right now, we are involved with a new program. It's called Foundations. Foundations is a phonics-based program that's new this year that we've given training for teachers that helps students to identify the letters, identify the sounds. It gets the body moving, to form the letters. It's associated with spelling. It's associated with letter formation. It's associated with handwriting, and so students are very much involved on that end. In first grade, it's not in first grade yet. We have it in a small pilot, and that's starting actually next week. And in first grade. But in first grade, we have an older program right now, and it's called Project Read. So it does very much address those decoding skills. But what we're trying to teach teachers with the phonics program is that it's in context. It's not in isolation. So they're teaching the long E word not just with like this is E, this is E, this is E, but within the context of what they're reading as well. So and they're doing that through, and it should be through small group instruction as well. So yes. So two programs that we have, but we're noticing right now that the Foundations, that has, I can go into greater detail if you want behind the thing.
Probably just for me.
But know though that we definitely have to learn how to read and read to learn too, and so it used to be, I mean, when I went to school, that didn't kick in until third grade, right? And if you really look at the Pennsylvania standards now, you need to have thinking students coming to that text. And if they can't read it, like just what you said, your son, right? My son, he gets it, good. Let's keep it going that he can continue to get it, right? And so we continue to ask him and be thinking about that, but then work on those decoding pieces as well. So that's part of a balanced literacy program, and we're trying to do that, so. Ooh. All right, so there's no way that you could have achieved all, but I wanted to kind of just demonstrate there's some commonality that we're trying to work on from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade and then beyond, getting them into high school, really feeling confident that they can be, again, critical consumers of text. And it is never too late to start, and it really should start even in kindergarten. If you look at those standards, there's a lot of comprehension standards. It's not just those decoding standards and those foundational skills. So we're always concerned with that, and then we're also providing help with that too. So thank you so much. And if I have my card back there, please feel free. Like this.